The Fun Zone Problem Solving Unit is comprised of 8 tasks, several strategy sessions, and build and budget sessions, as well as a culminating project. The background story behind this unit is about a child named Avery Jones that began daydreaming about a shopping center that was filled with bowling alleys, arcades, and other fun activities rather than a clothing stores, item stores, and things that typical children find boring. So he then decides to present the idea of this recreational center to the city council, and the council loves the idea, so they decide to get a company to create a blueprint of this idea. But now Avery needs to hire a team to create a 3D model of this blueprint. And so he is looking to hire children to help him with this. And the children he's looking to hire are children that are attending summer camp. We are now going to discuss what the outline of a task looks like. So each task consists of two sets of learning targets. So during the exploration phase of the task, the students are presented with learning targets that focus on the student mathematical practices, such as persevering in problem solving and critiquing the reasoning of their peers. But once they get to the content section, so they've explored the content, after they start leading into the direct instruction part, the learning targets change to be based on the Alabama Math Course of Study standards from 2019. The purpose of this is so that students begin engaging with those student mathematical practices, as well as we're avoiding giving away strategies within the learning targets during the exploration phase, whereas we would rather them focus on the content at hand than trying to match the strategy that is specified within the learning target. Each task begins with a number sense routine. These routines are meant to build, of course, number sense, as well as math vocabulary, flexibility with numbers, and much more. These tasks vary from day to day in order to promote student engagement. These tasks consist of things such as the estimate series and splat, as well as critical thinking tasks and number strings that encourage students to use known facts to solve for unknown facts. After the number sense routine, the main task is introduced. These tasks are introduced in an engaging and authentic way. For example, the teacher will introduce the unit by playing a news report in which Avery is interviewed about his idea. The teacher will then follow up by providing students with the article that's mentioned in this report, as well as the way that they can apply to become a part of the team. The rest of the tasks are introduced with video messages from Avery asking the students to perform certain tasks. The unit also provides for multiple entry points. So for example, when a student is first beginning to explore area, they may rely on manipulatives and counting to find the area of a figure. A student that is progressing may choose to use skip counting by the total number of tiles on each row, whereas a student that is working towards mastery may decompose the area model into known facts and add those parts together to find the total area. The level of support that the teacher gives while she introduces these tasks decrease over time. This helps promote critical thinking skills and helps students process the information independently as they progress through the unit. After the task is introduced, students will work together in groups of 2 or 3 to solve the problem at hand. This encourages collaboration and student discourse. The amount of time that students spend on the task can vary from task to task. This is due to the fact that once the big idea has been accomplished, the teacher can choose to close out the activity and move on. Even if she still has a couple of groups that are still working on it, she can always pull them at a later time to discuss strategies and ideas that can help the student progress. As students are working collaboratively, the teacher will circulate the room and make anecdotal notes about the conversations he or she overhears, as well as the strategies that they see the students use as they interact with the problem. The teacher will then use these anecdotal notes to carefully sequence the student-led showcase. The sequence of the showcase is important as it helps support the learning target that will be discussed during the direct instruction. So let's say that the learning target is that I can use properties to solve multi-digit multiplication problems. In this situation, we see 3 different strategies that students could use to solve 15 times 6. So the teacher may choose to start with the group that used repeated addition. So here you could see the 15 repeated 6 times. This strategy is accessible for all students. Then the teacher may choose to move to a group that has used skip counting as their strategy to solve the problem. After this group, the next group may have used the distributive property, such as decomposing the 15 into 10 and 5 and multiplying both of those parts by 6 to get the total. This allows for the teacher to teach directly into the learning target using the strategies that the students have come up with. The important part about the student-led showcase is that it is student-led. The students that are presenting are leading the conversation, and the students that are in the audience are raising their hand to ask questions. This is not a show and tell, but a show and compare. So what this means is that students are looking for connections among the 3 groups of work that are presented, as well as the way that it relates to the presented learning target. After the showcase, the teachers will lead the students in direct instruction. The mini lesson during this phase will relate directly to the work that was presented during the showcase, as well as the learning target. This lesson will last no more than 20 minutes to support student engagement. They will also receive time to practice with the teacher during the small group portion of math workshop. The students will take notes with the teacher, and the teacher will model the note-taking skill during this time. We have included resource videos of possible mini lessons to help teachers in their planning phase of this process. It is important that these videos are not used to teach the mini lesson, but just as a resource for teachers to create their lesson. After the direct instruction component, students move into math workshop. The workshop provides time for students to practice and engage with newly learned content. The students will rotate through the 4 stations that you see here on the screen. The teacher-led small group station is still a part of Tier 1 instruction. Teachers will adjust what they do with these students in this group based on the deficits that he or she sees from these students. The students will also have a chance to participate in a math game. This allows for a chance to practice the newly learned content in an engaging way. There will also be an opportunity for independent practice for each student to digest the information at their own rate. There is also an application task in which students will work collaboratively to solve a more complex task where they can apply their learning in a new context. After the math workshop, the teacher will provide students with a formative assessment. These assessments are direct and to the point. They may only consist of 1 or 2 problems so that the teacher can quickly analyze the state of their class regarding the learning target. The teacher will then use these results to plan the next instructional steps. Intervention and enrichment is the last component of a task. This is where the Tier 2 instruction occurs. So teachers can use the data from the related formative assessment, or they can use data from the end of the year benchmark to fill gaps that may not be directly related to the content within the tasks. Teachers will use their school-based curriculum to plan for instruction during this part. So here's a summary of all the components within a task. You have a number sense routine, the task introduction, the collaborative problem solving, the showcase, the direct instruction, math workshop, formative assessment, intervention and enrichment, and the closure is where the teacher reviews the learning targets with the students. As you can see, this can take various amounts of time depending on what is being explored and how long it takes the students to interact with the content. Strategy sessions follow a group of related tasks. This is a time where teachers and students will work together to create a class reference chart or anchor chart to hang in the classroom. Students will also use this time to create their own make and take resource. The resource that they will create during this time will follow the idea behind Graham Fletcher's strategy flashcards, where rather than just the problem presented on the card, students shade the area model using their chosen strategy so that when they see the card, they can think about the efficient strategy that they can use to solve the problem if they do not know the product automatically. Build and budget breaks will follow strategy sessions. In this component, students will build the floor model and they will also be able to design the floor model. So, for example, they may want to arrange the tiles in a flower or use different colors and patterns within their model. But students will then use these colors to calculate the cost of their tiles. They will also compare the cost of these tiles from two different companies to decide which company they get a better deal from. Once they decide that, they will then write a check to this company and they will deduct this total from their budget. This is all leads up to the culminating project. On the blueprint, there is a section labeled Citizen's Choice. So what this means is that students will get to create and design their own activity that will be placed in this section of the blueprint. So they'll create a name, write a description of the activities that will happen in this section, and they'll also have a chance to create an advertisement, which can be in the form of a commercial, a print ad, and so on, for their addition to the fun zone. Students will then also be able to create the floor model using the remaining budget that they have from the other parts of the tasks. There are opportunities for engagement, such as actually making this model 3D by using cardboard to create the walls, and inviting stakeholders to come view these creations. The purpose of this project is for students to apply their knowledge they have gained from progressing through the unit. The Fun Zone Problem Solving Unit is an all-inclusive unit that provides students with the opportunity to develop strategies for multiplication and division fluency. We look forward to working with your teachers in implementing this new and exciting unit.